Juletane by Myriam Warner Vieyra Tuesday, August the 29th, 1961. This morning I could not open my window to the breaking dawn, as I usually do. I could not look at the sky, breathe in the first breath of cool air before the day's dry heat. The house is still full of visitors. The relatives from the village came yesterday evening, after the goo. Saw Mamadou's mother and two of our sisters. And Daya's family was there too, in force. Very late last night I slipped into the kitchen, and stocked up for today with a bottle of water and a bit of bread. The semi-darkness of my room, and all the bustle outside make it difficult for me to write. I feel like staying in bed, and not thinking. 1,000 thoughts of all kinds assail me, from the most disjointed to the most serious. Where do we go after death? Where are the children? Is there really a heaven, a hell, a purgatory? There is a supreme being over us that I believe. But why is it that on this earth some people have such a good life, while others suffer only misfortune despite the fact that they are upright and honest? And if these are the same people who have the highest place in the next world, we will really have been fooled. Who has the truth? In each religion, there are fanatics who think they are the only ones who possess the key to knowledge, and that everyone else is in error, that they will not be touched by God's grace. Have I become a being without a soul? I am rambling aimlessly. The children's death, after the first moments of surprise, leaves me relatively unmoved. I don't suffer from not seeing them. Perhaps I have not yet realized that they are gone forever. Today, my faithful companions and only friends, the cockroaches, take advantage of the unnatural night in my room. They crawl all over the walls, fly about the room, roam around my bedside table, greet each other on my bread, their antennae bumping into each other. A bold fellow steals a quick kiss from me, and escapes above the wardrobe. I doze, lulled by the hum of voices in the yard. I am dreaming. Alienation is calling me mother. For the first time I am mother. I open my eyes. I am all alone with my cockroaches. Alienation is dead, and I am not a mother. Wednesday, August the 30th, 1961. 2 p.m. Early this morning, before the call to prayer, I took advantage of a fine drizzle to go to the kitchen. Some leftover couscous allowed me to appease my hunger. After a quick shower I went back to my room without being seen. Two people wrapped up in their pans were snoring under the mango tree, oblivious of the rain which wasn't really heavy enough to penetrate the tree's abundant foliage. Soon after the time of the morning prayer I heard a gentle knocking at my door. I opened it a little. Mamadou. My surprise was without bounds. His red eyes had lost their usual glint of malice and looked profoundly grave. "Shhh, I know that you are not going to venture out with all this coming and going. I have brought you something to eat." "Thank you." I take the package. Was it possible he is suddenly thinking of me? The death of the children has made him sensitive to the suffering of others. I ask how Awa is, and close my door quickly. His answer comes to me through the wood. She is brave. Actually, I could not share their sorrow. I was content to understand, to imagine their suffering. The heart is weary, my tears too long since dried up. It is the third day. The crowd is even larger, and the din deafening, the food plentiful. Some, it seems, have not eaten for days, judging by their voracious appetites. A young man who was eating directly beneath my window asked if it was a baptism. He was not from the neighborhood. Passing by, he had seen the huge bowls of food, and had stopped to partake. On the whole the bulbous seemed more somber, but the jewelry was no less dazzling. I am going to have to tell Mamadou that if I die while I'm under his roof he need not feed everyone for the occasion. I have more frequently abstained and fasted than feasted in my lifetime. Besides, I will only need a simple grave in a corner of the cemetery, with no cross or headstone, since I am already forgotten. Still, it is strange to know that when I die, no one will shed a tear, for I have already ceased to exist. I am a rudderless boat adrift in time and space. Is it because I was conceived accidentally one day in Lent? An appropriate tune comes to mind. I have forgotten the words. I make up others that are in keeping with my situation. I am frustrated, depressed. I have no home. I am an exile, an alien. They say I've lost my mind. I am a wreck, drifting in the wind. I have lost all my illusions. Thursday, August the 31st, 1961. It was still dark when I woke up, bathed in sweat, my heart beating fast, surprised to find that I was not in the bottom of the pit where, asleep, I had been lying motionless, my whole body crawling with worms which devoured me. I could not see them any more. I felt them. They had left me paralyzed. I was awaiting the very last moment, the moment when the mind falls into nothingness, when my eyes open to the solitude of my room. I was still there lying on my miserable bed. I could not bear the heat and the darkness any longer, so I decided to go for a walk. Once outside, I managed to open the gate noiselessly. I walked as far as the site of a set of apartment buildings being constructed in our area without meeting a single soul. Coming back, when I got to about 500 meters from the house, I realized I was bathed in perspiration, out of breath. My heart was pounding, and my legs trembling. I had not walked so far for years. The muezzin's first call gave me wings. I wanted to get back before the household woke up. Limping along as fast as I could, I barely had time to slip into the shower when I heard the drawing room door open. I stood under the shower, fully dressed, and rubbed my aching feet, and then I crossed the courtyard with my head down, careless of the eyes fixed on me. I thought I saw someone praying, but I couldn't tell who. Probably one of the relatives from the village who had arrived the other evening. Nobody bothered about me. Nobody came to greet me. Besides, that morning they had gone off again with Awa. I did not understand why Awa had gone. I felt more frustrated and lonely than ever before. Awa and the children had been the only ones in the house to whom I spoke. At last all is quiet again. I can open my window for a little while. It must be 3 o'clock. I don't think there will be any visitors before this evening. Mamadou has gone to work, and Ayu left the house when he did. The little servant girl is humming as she tackles an impressive pile of dirty laundry that must be washed before nightfall. Aunt Katie, seated on a mat, is telling her beads, mumbling her verses from the Quran. She is saying her afternoon prayers, Tisbah. She reminds me of Awa, whom I watched 5 times a day, for almost 4 years, in the same spot, praising Allah. The silence and the emptiness around me weigh even more heavily now, because of the crowd these past 3 days. Her prayer finished, I cough to attract Aunt's attention. She smiles at me. She has always been good to me. I wave to her and ask her the question I have been burning to ask all morning. Why did the family take Awa away? To comfort her, to try to take her mind off things. She has no one here. You are ill, and air is not good for her. Mamadou is a man. Do they know what caused the children's death? It is Allah's will. He gives us children, and He takes them back when He needs them. We must respect His will. This fatalism has always amazed me. I know that in this particular case, Allah is not the only one involved. And what about my madness? Whose will was that? That is, if I could be considered mad. For the moment I am neither the madwoman of the village nor the neighborhood. My madness is the private property of Mamadou Mustafa's house, and in particular of Ndaya, his favorite and third wife. This beloved Ndaya loses nothing by waiting. I am preparing my vengeance like a very special dish. After I have carefully prepared it, seasoned it, I will savor it slowly, very slowly and carefully. It will be my last meal and my madness will vanish. Friday, September the 1st, 1961. I glance briefly at the sky hung with thick cloud, the sign of welcome showers to come, and recite my evening prayers. Then my eyes fall on Mamadou. Mamadou bending low, arms raised, his face serene with the calm of his newly recovered faith. It's the first time I have seen him like this. Happy the man who believes in God. He will be comforted. I note with satisfaction that Mamadou's atheism and his whiskey have not survived the test. After his prayer is finished, he comes over to my window. Good evening, my love. My mouth drops open with astonishment. I pinch myself to see if I am dreaming. I must be dreaming. That is what he used to call me at the very beginning of our marriage. That was so long ago. Even my name, Juletane, because my father's name was Jules, is a distant memory. No one had called me by name for years. I am the mad woman. Yes, you are the one I turned to in my distress. I did not know before what the suffering, the misfortune of losing what is dearest was like. Up until now my life was full. This is the first time that I am so painfully aware of my powerlessness. Now I understand just how much I hurt you by abandoning you to your suffering. I hope that one day you will forgive me. What can I do so that you will forgive me? Nothing. I don't want anything. Or if, give up Ndaya. She is the source of all your troubles. That is all I want. You are my only family. Arwa is not a bad soul. My reply took him by surprise. That was plain. He did not say anything, but went off, with his brand new prayer rug under his arm. Ndaya too seemed to have got a serious shock. She did not shout at the little servant girl as she usually did. She did not look at me in her cruel, disdainful way. She did not even look in the direction of my window. She prepared the meal with one of her sisters, sent for me at lunchtime, and, around the bowl she ate in silence, and got up with difficulty, sighing. Mamadou had his midday meal in the drawing room with some friends. Then they went to the mosque to take part in Friday prayer. God is great. There is only one God and Muhammad is his prophet. All my thoughts are with my sister Awa. Do I miss her? It is true that we could have been one big happy family, but for that to be, I would also have to come from a little village in the bush, have been brought up in a polygamous family, taught to share my master with other women. Whereas, in fact, I belong nowhere, and I had dreamed of a Prince Charming who would be faithful and mine alone. He was to be all mine, and I all his, and our union would be as solid as a fortress built on a rock. But, at the first storm, I found myself at the bottom of a lonely chasm, floundering in the mire. True, life is composed of joy and sorrow, laughter and tears, but mine is nothing but tears of blood. Can I live long enough to see the fatal fall of this house, where my last illusions dwelled? The day is at its hottest. Evening will surely bring a great number of visitors, and confine me to my room. So I am putting down my notebook to go and have a refreshing shower. 7 p.m. As I had foreseen, the stream of visitors has begun. It is not the huge crowd of the previous days. Just 1 or 2 people coming and going every 5 minutes. Mamadou is in the drawing room receiving condolences. Awa, the first 3 days, had preferred to remain in her usual place under the mango tree across from my window. I was able to watch events unfolding. Each person would arrive, saying Sigil and Igarl by way of greeting, and the whole family answered in chorus Sigil Sawal. Today, I can only see figures going from the gate to the drawing room and leaving again a few minutes later. All the faces of the visitors have the same hesitant expression when they arrive. Then, as they are leaving, a look of satisfaction at having done their duty, some sigh or say alas, which is more like a sort of entreaty than a lament. My window is half open, but no one looks in my direction. The little servant, for once apparently idle, standing outside the kitchen door, echoes the greetings as visitors come and go. Saturday, September the 2nd, 1961. I am in the Palace Theatre. It is a gala evening. The show is a lively French cancan, and everybody is appreciative of the dancers' lacy underwear. Mamadou gets up to applaud, and the room is transformed into a supermarket. I pick up a basket to do my shopping, remember that I have no money, and let go of the metal basket. The noise it makes as it falls mingles with the gate opening. The applause was someone knocking at the door. An unfamiliar voice, then Mamadou's, and the noise of footsteps disturb my dream and bring me back to the reality of a day dawning. I open my window. One of Awa's young brothers is standing under the mango tree beside Mamadou. What is going on? Awa threw herself into the well in our field last night, replies Alma, Awa's brother. Troubles never come singly, I murmur, more for myself than for anyone else. Mamadou looks at me questioningly and despairingly. He cannot understand what is happening to him. To lose his 3 children and his first wife in less than a week. Life is a wheel of fortune. It keeps turning, and no one knows when it will stop. If a man weeps, weep with him, for if you laugh, your laughter can change into wailing the next time the wheel stops. And so others will laugh at you. I understand others' grief, but, oh God, forgive me for not mingling my tears with Mamadou's. I have so often wept alone because of him. The day runs its course, a long reel of boredom. The house has lost its customary animation. No shouts from the children, no more Awa, busy between the mango tree and the kitchen. The little maid does not hum to the rhythm of her broom as she sweeps the corners of the courtyard. Mamadou has gone to the village with Alma, Awa's young brother. The family from 33rd Street, and Daya's sisters and most of Mamadou's friends have probably gone as well. A few visitors, mainly women who have heard the news, come by to see Daya. Binta and Stu came at about 3 o'clock, but didn't stay long. They were on their way to a christening. So, between Awa's death and the various ceremonies of a Saturday in town, the family and friends of the household are all busy, and Daya has no choice, by force of circumstances, but to be alone with me. Today, no armchair under my window, no beer, no pachanga, no movies this evening either, and no night dubbing afterwards. A very austere life for Daya. She is wearing a dark balbu and considerably less jewelry. However, she is still wearing her startling makeup. Instead of eyebrows, 2 bold pencil lines which disappear into the wig she wears for special occasions. I have always wondered, Where this fashion came from, Vieyra was not the only one who followed it, but her wigs were each more bizarrely shaped than the last. As for the material, it was easy to see the artificial strands of fiber which took the place of her hair, and Vieyra seems very preoccupied. I don't think Hawa's death is the only reason for her distress, although her future as favorite wife is seriously in jeopardy, because she has no children. Mamadou will take another wife, a younger one, and she will lose her privileges. But the fact that she cannot go to parade her jewels at some baptism must really bother her. If I continue to feel sorry for her, I run the risk of weeping over the plight of poor Vieyra, while the hour of my vengeance is approaching. Besides, I have run out of tears. I have discovered hatred. This feeling drives me as much as my love did in the past. Yes, I was once beautiful, in love. Today I looked at myself in a broken bit of mirror. My hair, which I had cut, never seems to have grown back, or did I cut it again recently? It is dusty and dull. There is a long diagonal scar across my forehead, a souvenir of my first depression, on the third weekend Mamadou spent in the village with Hawa. I thought that the world had stopped that weekend, that a future without Mamadou's faithful and exclusive love was inconceivable. My eyes, too shiny, have a cold, disturbing look about them. My cheekbones stand out above the hollows of my cheeks. My skin is without luster. I look desperate, starved. Not of bread, but of someone's presence, of tenderness, of gentle caresses. Oh God! What has become of the smiling, happy woman I used to be? 5 years have passed. 5 years of humiliation, of indifference, of being disdained by others. Such has been the lot of this stranger, all alone in the world, that I am. I am very lucid now. Have I reached the end of the Calvary which has been my life in this country? 6:30 p.m. The wind is blowing through the mango tree. It is incredibly violent. I hope it will blow away the mosquitoes. It will certainly rain tonight. The courtyard is deserted, and Vieyra must be in her room, or in the kitchen with the maid. She will have the evening meal by herself. I would not want to find myself alone with her. Besides, I don't trust what she might make me swallow. I believe her capable of anything. I had become accustomed to a certain monotonous daily rhythm with Hawa, and the children as my link with the outside world. Now that they are gone, a new threshold has been crossed. Living with Mamadou and Vieyra, even provisionally, would be unbearable. I have to find a solution once and for all, and as soon as possible. And Vieyra is the stumbling block on the already tortuous path of my life. I must remove this obstacle, so that I can see clearly. And then, as I could before, I will be able to face the future with excitement, and say to myself, tomorrow is another day. Sunday, September the 3rd, 1961. The night is calm. It is still dark. The muezzin has not yet called the faithful to prayer. Too many things are whirling about in my head. I feel a bit feverish. It is probably the heat. The rain which was threatening yesterday did not fall. I have taken the bulb from the shower, to replace the one in my room which had burnt out. I should have thought of it sooner. At last I can write without opening my window, and especially without having to wait for it to be light. Hawa's death is in the natural course of things, although I did not expect it. I realize that I underestimated her. I did not think she was capable of so much determination and courage. It is much easier to take another's life than to do away with oneself. If there is the slightest glimmer of hope buried in the depth of your being, you can overcome the greatest difficulties. She could have had other children. She was the only one in the house who prayed and respected the teachings of Islam. But alas, her faith was not sufficient to surmount the cruel ordeal. What surprises me most of all was the fact that the children's death should be accepted with so much fatalism by the rest of the family. Allah wanted them, Allah had taken them, and Aunt had told me. No autopsy, no police inquiry. Unless they had taken place without my knowing, my throat is dry, my head burning. I go to the kitchen and open the refrigerator. My nostrils are suddenly assailed by the odor characteristic of the mixture of all the different sauces stored there, in spite of the piece of coal they had put there, which, they say, absorbs odors. This piece of coal, I must admit, has been there for some time, and could hardly absorb anything now. I drink from the bottle. I don't normally do that. But I want to do something different from my normal routine. I notice knife, a long, beautiful knife that Mamadou had bought at the last Tabaski festival for sacrificing the sheep. Mamadou is a good Muslim, he is polygamous, and he celebrates Tabaski. On that day, he goes to the mosque, kills his sheep, distributes a great deal of meat, and what is left is transformed into delicious kebabs which he enjoys marinated with the best wines. In short, he respects the least restrictive aspects of Islam. During the Ramadan he cannot fast, because his stomach ulcer conveniently obliges him to eat regularly. As if hypnotized, I take the knife. The tip is very pointed. In a corner of the courtyard I rub the blade on a stone which has often been used for this purpose. I go to Ndeya's room. She is sleeping soundly, as always. I wait until my eyes get used to the darkness. She is lying on her right side, covered to the waist. Her ample breasts are bare and exposed. For a moment I calculate the position of her heart under the layers of fat, and then I drive the knife in, with both hands. The blade goes all the way in between two ribs. Her whole body writhes convulsively. I feel a warm liquid on my left foot. She is urinating. After what seems to me to be quite a long time, she is quite still. I remove the pillow, open the window. Her face has become a hideous death mask. Her eyes are glassy. Next I go to Awa's room, where Mamadou has chosen to spend the night, so that he could remember his dear departed ones. I knock carefully before entering. He is lying on his back, his hands under his head. "Good morning, sweetheart." "Good morning. You are surprised to see me, aren't you? Don't I have the right to visit my husband? Aren't we married for better or for worse? I have been neglected so long." His look is a gentle caress on my skin, taut with impatience. I go up to the bed slowly and lean over him. He takes me in his arms. "We can begin all over again, if you want," says Mamadou. In reply, I lean closer to him. I am happy. I think of Ndeya whom Mamadou is going to find dead. I have my vengeance. I burst out laughing at the thought of all that beautiful red blood flowing from Ndeya's side. Ndeya, silenced at last. She won't insult me any more. What a lovely joke. Mamadou's favorite out of the running. "Come, sweetheart, listen carefully." "No, nothing. I cannot stop laughing. I laugh until I cry." He will soon know the extent of his misfortune. And about the children's death. Who is responsible for their death? Didn't they prescribe drops for me? Drops that Mamadou himself was to make me take, and that were to be kept out of the children's reach? Of course. Mamadou had given them to me, telling me no more than 10 drops. All right. At that moment, he was thinking, that if I swallowed the whole bottle I would solve my problem. This medicine could take care of other things. Here come the children. All three of them have come back. They have gathered around me, pulling me by the hand. We are jumping, dancing, laughing. My laughter ends in a fit of coughing. I come back to reality. I am lying flat on the dirty kitchen floor. Did I fall? ? The knife is still in its place. Mamadou has gone to the village for our funeral, and Aya must still be asleep. I feel very feverish. I am lost. I am perspiring profusely. Now I am cold, freezing cold. My teeth are chattering. I light the fire to make some tea. The sight of the flame warms me. I am afraid. My head is like an enormous kettle with 1,000 explosive thoughts boiling up inside. One of them suddenly flashes brightly, like a spark of magma, and soon it outshines all the others. I am feverish with excitement. O happy household where nothing is ever locked, neither in the kitchen, nor in Daya's room. Poor Daya, who is sleeping like a log. Blessed Sunday when we are alone. I am at the bottom of the pit once more. I am no longer alone. My eyes have got used to the dark, and I have found a passage which leads to a sort of gallery. Crawling along a long tunnel I reached the banks of an underground river, where there was great activity, but where all was silent. Men and women were bathing or sitting on rocks with their feet in the water. They all looked happy and joyful, like people who had reached a welcome rest after a long walk. No one spoke. I plunged into the water to try to wash off all the mud from the pit which clung to my skin and my clothing. I swam under water for a while. When I came up again, I had the same feeling of being cleansed and rested that I could read on the faces of the others. "Where are we?" I asked the young woman nearest to me. "Shhh. Not so loud. You mustn't disturb anyone. Everyone here is on an inward journey, and goes wherever he wants to. Earth is only a stage which we pass through. Man's body is dust. Only the spirit is inspired and divine. We wash because we have to keep the outer shell which protects the soul clean, so that no impurity will trouble our reflection. All those people gathered on the banks of the river came here, exhausted and dirty, from different far-off places. The only thing which unites them is their hypersensitivity, flayed by all the harshness and evil on the other side of the river. I feel calm and rested. The water is so cool. Can we go back one day to the other world from which we come? Some go back there, and do not make out very well. It demands a lot of strength and courage. They are often disappointed, and come back to us. Here, life is easy. You just have to let your thoughts wander, and live your inner life intensely. I think I would like to go back there. I don't know why, but I think there is someone I would like to see again. Well, I will leave you. Take advantage of your innermost self. Those on the other side of the river look down on us. In the language we are mad. Look at our friends. Their faces only show wisdom and kindness. Someone is calling me from the other side of the river. Someone is speaking to me. I think I know this man. It is hard for me to remember how I met him. He takes my hand. I am crossing a yard that I know very well. There is a tree. We go out. He puts me into a car, very gently. He is handsome, and I think he is someone I love. I ask him his name. He answers, "I'm Mamadou. Don't worry, everything will be all right." We are crossing the town. There are lots of lights, houses with many stories, cars, motorcycles. Sometimes the car stops and people cross. They seem to be in a great hurry. We get to a lighted sign. Mamadou breaks, leans out the window, and talks to a man in uniform who raises a barrier. The car goes slowly, makes several turns, then Mamadou shuts off the engine in front of a long building, and helps me to get out. We cross a long corridor, and come to a veranda. Opposite, there is a courtyard and several cottages. A lady helps me to get into a bed in one of the cottages. Then she gives me an injection, saying it will do me good, that I will sleep. I close my eyes. Mamadou is beside me. I am wearing a pretty white dress. A man standing behind a table in front of us is speaking to us. He asks Mamadou a question. Mamadou says yes. Then he speaks to me. I to answer, yes. Then Mamadou takes my left hand, very tenderly. Slowly he slips a gold ring on one of my fingers. A gold ring, the symbol of unity, a pledge of love, a promise of fidelity, the assurance of happiness. Then he embraces me. Other people, men, women, blacks, whites, are embracing me, talking to me. From their clear voices flow wishes, sweet as honey. I am very happy. It is the happiest day of my life, the prelude of a symphony of love which will never end. A light mist envelops us, faces pass before my eyes and then disappear, swallowed up in the fog. Mamadou is pulling me along with him. We are waltzing, caught up in a whirlwind, and I let myself be carried along by the soothing mist. I fall asleep calmed,